Iraq.
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 Hi, my name is Titus Lee.
My name is Kemi Bafis.
My name is Sebastian van Kuik.
My name is Noura Lori.
I'm from Singapore, a country in Southeast Asia with about 4 million people.
I'm from Paris, France.
I reside in Spain, a country on the Mediterranean on the west side of Europe.
I'm from Bahrain. It's a tiny island off the coast of Saudi Arabia in the middle of the Persian Gulf.
I'm affected by everything that is going on as an international student.
Living in the US, I've seen like both sides of the story.
Definitely changed the way that I see this government, just because I know that there are a lot of people that don't agree with everything that it does.
There are people here who support the war, and there are people here who, disagree with the war, and I get a better picture of the whole thing.
I understand far better the American perspective than, say, friends that I discussed this with back in Spain.
Politically, the only reason why you invaded Iraq was because of the threat of weapons of mass destruction.
If you deal with problems like Iraq before you deal with problems like North Korea, the only message you're sending is if you have a nuclear weapon, no one's going to touch you.
I just think that they wanted Saddam out of the government because he wasn't serving anymore the U.S.'s interest.
I think a lot of it has to do with identity and who the U.S. believes it is, and who and what that identity it consists of.
There are definitely economic incentives.
In terms of economics, there's more to gain for the US.
All the contracts go to Western companies.
And they would probably be a good source of low-cost oil outside of your current OPEC sources.
Free trade is what we're encouraging over there, and free trade is not so free, if you ask me.
The best reason that I can see is humanitarian reasons, because we know that Saddam Hussein's regime was very oppressive.
Why Iraq and not, African countries, for example, who have the same types of leaders and the same types of genocide? When you are a big country with a lot of power, it's hard to pick and choose who are the people you're going to help and for what reasons.
I'm not saying Saddam was a good person. I'm just saying that at least there was more stability.
The current state of things in Iraq is dire.
You look at what's happening in Fallujah, and you look at everywhere right now. It's very, very unstable and very dangerous.
If you read the papers, what you see is a lot of warlords still being in charge of certain regions, and I guess how much better is that compared to living under Saddam Hussein?
I don't know what the U.S. can do right now, because I feel like you can't just run away and leave that mess there, the mess that you caused.
Once you've committed to going into Iraq, you got to stay true to your cause, and you got to clean it up properly. And regardless of whether you have international help or not, you have to show the world that you are doing the right thing, and you have to somehow make Iraq a better place.
But at the same time, I don't know how the U.S. can stay there and have any legitimacy.
Instead of trying to make up for whatever happened, whatever, came out throughout this whole year, they should just respect what they said, like leaving on the 30th of June and handing the matter to the United Nations and having Iraq under the mandate of the United Nations build an interim government and, from there develop.
If there were democracy, I guess in the long run, Iraq would benefit. But until you get that democracy and that legal system and that business system in place, there isn't much good going on right now.
This kind of quick fix is not what you can't do that in the Middle East. Democracy is not something that people just take.
And sometimes it's just hard to put together, Islam and democracy.
This is something that takes decades. This doesn't take months or years. This takes decades.
Democracies don't get built in a day, I guess.